げ、げ、げげげのげ、朝はねどこでグーグーグー、楽しいな、楽しいな、お化けの泣こも、試験も何にもない。げ、げ、ゲゲゲのゲ、みんなで歌おうもゲゲゲのゲ。ああ、ゲ、ゲ、ゲゲゲのゲ、夜は墓場で運動会、楽しいな、楽しいな、お化けは死なない、病気も何にもない。ゲゲゲゲゲのゲ、みんなで歌おうもゲゲゲのゲ、みんなで歌おうもゲゲゲのゲ、みんなで歌おうもゲゲゲのゲ。いらっしゃいませんか? Welcome to Dr. Jimmy's video. Yes, this is my video for this year. Am I only doing them once a year now? Oh dear, hopefully not. I hope I'll get back to the swing of things. But it has been, I believe, actually a whole damn year since I last made one. Oh, I'll try to do better this year and get back to it. I finally got a lamp. I spent a whole damn year buying a lamp, and this morning trying to put it together with some assistance. And now there's some illumination to make. An inside joke here at my studio. Very low key, very not quite professional place. Maybe that can improve someday. I've never monetized and made any kind of a life of YouTubing like some people have marvelous sets and special effects and all sorts of didgeridoos. But me, I just sit here and babble away like a lunatic. Oh well, hopefully I'll be around a little bit longer. At any rate, oh, Dr. Jimmy got a haircut. No, I didn't. I just got a scrunchie. Well, you're probably wondering what that intro song was all about. Oh, yes. Well, it was the theme song of an anime that I enjoyed as a little boy in Japan when I was... You knew that, didn't you? I think I've mentioned it more than once in some of my previous videos, that I was born in Japan and lived there till I was about 7 years old. And I think around 1968 or 1969, somewhere around there at the end, before I moved in 1970 to Hawaii, where I grew up completely. Well, some people dispute that. But at any rate, when I right around 1968 or 69, I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but it was right in there in the late 60s, they adapted a manga called Gegege no Kitaro into an anime for the first time. It has continued over the years. It's come back most recently in 2018. But it's one that I remember as a little boy. It's like Scooby-Doo. It started around the same time and had a spooky theme. Spooky stuff. Yes, ghosts don't have to go to school or take tests or anything. Ghosts don't die or get sick or anything. So everybody's seeing ge ge no ge. That's ge 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 is like ke 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 ke. It's a way of ghost laughter. Spooky, eerie noises. Scary, spooky on a sound effect. That's what it is. So, oh my goodness. Yes, you can sleep all morning. You don't have to go to school. That's the lyrics. The other one has to do with playing games in a graveyard before it gets into ghosts don't have to die or get sick or anything. It's fun. So where was I? Yes, so here we are. And it's that wonderful day of the year, that bright day of spring. If you check your calendars, you'll see that it's no longer March. And it's now the first day of the lovely month of April. And it's time for me to reveal all secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 22? No, 2022. Or 31, it should be. For some reason. But I don't think they're calling it that because on the shirt it has 2022. The first piece of merchandise for the event is already out. Pardon me. Don't worry, kiddies, I don't have the corvids. Corvid? Yeah, ravens, crows, those sort of things. The back of the thing, on the back of the thing, it says, if you can, I don't know if you can see it with the slightly better stand here. Maybe you can see the back of the shirt, maybe not. But it says, never go alone. That sounds bloody familiar. Where did I hear that before? Never go alone. Wasn't that last year's catchphrase? They're just repeating themselves. Oh dear. Well, actually, that wasn't going to be the catchphrase this year. It was going to be Halloween Horror Nights, No Way Home. But, you know, Disney screwed them up and used it for a movie, and so they can't use that phrase. All right. So, you probably think you already know what's happening at the event this year, because, good Lord, I remember back in the day when I used to put out clues. Some people got mad at me for that. I would put out secret clues, and you'd have to guess. And because I'd heard through a grapevine what might be happening, and I'd put out those little secret clues, and that would be like well into, you know, summer or something, and then people would fight over what the meanings were and all of that, and then earlier and earlier every year the whole damn thing got leaked, and the leaks come earlier and earlier and earlier. In fact, you know, these videos I make are usually after the leaks. Oh, kind of ruins the whole idea a little bit, but still it has to be on this very day for reasons. That way people think I'm only joking and they don't realize that I actually know what's really going on, and I will reveal it to you now. Yes, the lineup that you've heard leaked, that's a bit of a double bluff. Yes, the people behind the creative minds of Horror Nights, they said, well, they always expect to hear the whole thing leaked. We'll just leak this fake news version, this false scenario, and they'll believe it. And we'll put some crazy things. We'll tell them there'll be a house based on The Weekend. They'll believe that. Well, they believed the crazy story about Billie Eilish a couple years ago. That didn't happen, did it? No, it was Boris Schuster. I want to ask you, does Boris Schuster look anything like Billie Eilish? And if you think the answer is yes, you need these. Yeah, put them on. Okay. Anyway, but, so, what you're hearing about, Mummy versus Wolfman, and all those other stories that you've heard. Actually, I'd really like to see Mummy versus Wolfman. It just breaks my heart that it's just a phony cover story. No, for what's really going on. And here's the real deal that I've heard through my cunning spies. And they have told me the true truth. That this is absolutely guaranteed to be true. Yes. So. And if anyone was in the military, they know what I just did. Anyway. All right, let's see. Let's see. Oh, yes, that's right. Now, you might be aware that there's going to be a brand new park being built. They're just starting to get breaking ground now. It looks quite wonderful. What they've started on, we're starting to see where things are going to go, and we've been hearing wonderful stories of what might be in this epic universe park, including a whole land based on Universal Classic Monsters. But that will be for Halloween some years to come before we see that wonderful thing happening. But what does that mean? It means a lot of the creative people, a lot of the art and design departments and people who work on Horror Nights every year are even busier than normal right now. Remember how things got a little bit out of hand when they were working so hard on Harry Potter? You may not remember it if you're a little kid, but some of the older fans might remember how sometimes you didn't hear about things for a while back in the day when they were working on Harry Potter. Oh, excuse me. There's a cat who's demanding to get in this room. Yes, yes, yes. Then he wants to know what all the secrets are as well. So I have to let her in here, or she'll kill me. You know how cats are. So she's in the room now. She might make a cameo. Oh, here she comes. Yes. Would you like to make a cameo? Appear on camera? Cat. Yeah, she's almost here. Look up here. There she is. You funny little kitty. All right. That's the gratuitous cat cameo. Now, if I had a monetized account, it would go up tremendously from appearance of cat. Yes, that's or as they say in Japan, kawaii desu ne. Oh, neko-chan. Oh, neko. All right, where was I? Oh, yes. So they're working very hard on Epic Universe, so they're preoccupied with that. Gee, how are they going to get that Horror Nights done if they're so busy working on Epic at the same time? Well, they might have to call in some help. Now, at the same time, way across the ocean, over in Japan, in Osaka, we have Universal Studios Japan. Remember the song I sang at the beginning of the video? That was a bit of a hint. Last year, because of COVID, they were only... excuse me. Oh, terrible to be coughing right after I mentioned COVID. Don't worry, I'm healthy. Right after, let's see, last year, because of COVID and other reasons, they were only able to do one haunted house at Universal Studios Japan. They're much more, pardon me, what's to say, sensible, rational, you know, smart about this thing in Japan than they are over here, where, you know, everyone, our leaders, pretend it doesn't exist, and let's just take all our masks off, even though it's still going on. Ha 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 ha, maybe it'll become endemic. All the people who are going to die are going to die, and then after that, we don't have to worry anymore. Ha ha ha. Destroy ourselves. In Japan, however, they're still using sensible routines, like, for example, at Horror Nights, the scare zones, when they're active in the streets, the guests have to stay on the sidewalk, and they have to stand 6 feet apart from each other wearing masks the whole time, watching the, you know, dancing in the streets, whatever's going on, clapping afterwards, and taking pictures and everything, and being very, very polite about the whole thing, 'cause it's a different culture. Watch some videos about USJ Horror Night, just see what I mean. That would never happen here, would it? Or would it? Would it? Maybe it will, because maybe they could bring it here and force us to toe the line a little bit. And that's what's going to happen, you see, because last year in Japan, they only did one haunted house. Instead of doing 5 or 6, they only did 1 because of COVID. And this year, they'll probably only do 1 house again. It'll probably be the same house. They repeat houses a lot over there. I think they're doing the same Gegege no Kitaro house, based on that anime I mentioned before, which is quite Delightful. If you want to watch it, you can find it on Tubi. Tubi or not Tubi? That is the question. No, not that kind of Tubi. Tubi. And pretty much for free. I don't think you have to pay for Tubi if you can get it on one of your internet or streaming services or your smart television, and you can watch a lot of the anime series. And Gegege no Kitaro is one that's been, well, as I said, I've enjoyed it since my childhood. The original that was like very old, you don't see, the one they have on Tubi is the most recent one from 2018. So that's not exactly, but it's more topical, and it's really quite good, actually. I rather enjoy it. So that's the haunted house they had last year in Japan. And they're going to do that house again this year, probably. So they don't need a lot of extra work or planning, because they do that a lot in Japan. Very often they do the same thing they did the year before, the street zombies and that. So their people could do a lot more work. Our people were very busy. What's the sensible, obvious solution? The people from Okinawa took over our event this year, and they're behind the creation of the Halloween Horror Nights 31, or 2022, whatever you want to call it. And they designed the haunted houses and scare zones and everything, making it a very different sort of year this year, because most of the haunted houses are going to be based on popular anime. They're testing some of them out over here before they do them in Japan, which doesn't make a lick of sense, but that's what they're going to do. Having got the rights to a whole bunch of them. So that's the haunted houses this year. We're going to have one based on JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, with the generations of the Joestar family facing off against that dread old vampire Dio. Yeah, it's quite fun. And different time periods from Victorian England to modern times, even the future, I believe, in the later seasons, all the different. This would be quite fabulous. And it's going to be competing vampires, because another haunted house will be based on the very glorious Helsing series. That's an older one. They did a couple versions of that over the years. Helsing is also about a powerful vampire, Alucard. Gee, I wonder what that name means if you spell it backwards. And who actually works for the British Secret Service, or rather a very secret, sacred service of, and Helsing is the name of the family that runs it. Although in the novel, Helsing was Dutch. Never mind. In this anime, she's British. Yes, she. Yes, Sir Helsing is a lady, and it's quite a lovely. In fact, Alucard was a girl once. It's difficult to explain. You have to watch the anime. Anyway, these competing vampire haunted houses will both be in the big sound stages, and so it's going to be quite fun, because it'll be just like the death battle they did that one time, which I don't, but I'm sorry. Alucard would have won. If even a atom of his blood still exists, he can come back, because it's Schrodinger's cat. Again, you have to watch I'm going to make a lot of references you won't understand unless you watch these things. That means you have to go and watch the damn anime. Alright. Then, of course, Gegege no Kitaro will be a house. This house that they had in Japan last year. Also in one of the sound stages. They're using 5 sound stages this year like they have in the past. They've worked out the cues. And the other 2 houses in the sound stages, there'll be one based on Death Note. Yes, that wonderful about, that boy named Raito, who can write down, how you're going to die, then you do. So long as it's rational. If he writes down that you just decided that something you wouldn't decide, it's not really mind control. He'd have to write down something that would fit your character, and so it would have to be something that can be logically explained. But, car accidents, bolt of lightning, all that can work. Just a heart attack. If he doesn't put down on how you die, you just have a heart attack. It's that simple. And there's this great, what do they call them? Shinakami, which is, no, Shinagami, I forgot. Kami means spirit or ghost, but sometimes letters get changed phonetically and they're in other words. I don't know why, but it's a thing in Japanese. And K and G are basically the same sound, just a little alt. Just like B and H, or H and B and P, and never mind. so Shinagami means literally death god or death spirit. So it's like a Grim Reaper character. There's a whole bunch of them, and this one particular is the one that Ryuku follows Raito around. Very impressive, big, spooky guy. Be a wonderful scare actor. Floating around with wings on cables. He's a bungee, I'm sure. In the haunted house, and there's going to be Demon Slayer haunted house, and this is the clue that's been in the right there in public view for months. Why do you think they've had all that anime merchandise in the City Walk? Not to mention over at the Men in Black store. That's just been right there in the broad daylight, right out in the open. The hint of what was coming. That should have been your warning. That's how you know this is all true. And Demon Slayer will get its haunted house. You've probably heard of that one, the guy who carries his little sister, who gets even littler, on his back on a thing, and she has a thing in her mouth, not because it's some sick bondage scenario, but because she will bite people if you don't put it in her mouth, because she's a demon possessed, and she's a nice one. They're trying to get her better. There's a lot of crazy stuff in that one. Blue Exorcist, which is also about demons and about the Antichrist being a rather nice young man, actually. But all kinds of interesting scenarios with demons and forces of evil. There's Soul Eater, where you have, remember Shinagami earlier, where you have this time the Grim Reapers running a school to teach people how to become basically scythes. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but it does if you see it. It's actually quite funny and humorous about these. Again, it is a horror-oriented anime that you would, I think, make a terrific haunted house. The visuals are quite striking, and the set pieces will be wonderful. So we have all of those, and then, of course, Castlevania. Oh, by the way, the Blue Exorcist and Soul Eater, those will be in the former parade building and the current parade building, which will still be used, and Castlevania will actually be in one of the tents. I know you think Castlevania should be in a bigger... Hey, they could do pretty awesome stuff in tents, and that's been proven over and over again, so it'll be a pretty good tent house. I don't think I have to explain Castlevania. They know that property, that it's based on the recent anime. There'll be like 3 different vampire gods and 2 different versions of Dracula. Oh, my goodness. But we've seen that before, too, if I recall. And then the last 2 houses are quite interesting. One of them is the closest thing to an original house. It will still use a licensed character, but done in a different way. And also is a sort of unofficial adaptation of Clive Barker's Hellraiser, but done by taking the licensed character from Sanrio of Hello Kitty. And you'll have basically Pinhead Kitty, Hello Kitty, with the pins and the leather and the bondage and the chains and the whips and the dungeons and the hell and the fire and the brimstone, all of that stuff, She will rip your soul apart. That sounds quite, hentai if you think about it, but it isn't, because in Japan, Pinhead, or I should say, the priest Cenobite, to use the correct term, because Clive Barker never liked the term Pinhead, is actually considered a kind of a hot guy in Japan for some culturally diverse, culturally different reason. You know, we don't. There's certain, for example, the person smiles. You know, they want to see perfect teeth, all straight. In Japan, if the teeth is a little off, a little snaggletooth, it's considered really cute and adorable and even sexy. And we would say, see, it's a different culture. You know, it's different cultures have different things that get them, you know, thirsty. You have to account for that. And don't worry if you go to Japan, they'll think you're cute. They always think white people are cute, even if you're not white. Not everyone watching this is, but Americans are often oh, they're so, and they think that we're all really talented, really, yeah, that's what they think. Not always true, but that's what they think. Cultural differences. Oh dear. But getting back to where I was about, yeah, they think how that Pinhead is hot, and so Hello Kitty as a Cenobite would be very exciting to some people and very disturbing that they would find that, and to others. But nevertheless, this is actually going to be their idea of kind of a sexy haunted house, but for most of us it'll be a funny one. And the final haunted house, the final one, is something that will probably make people go, huh? Because it's Friday the 13th. Yes, with the original Friday the 13th. But they just did Texas Chainsaw last year, remember? They're going to do Friday the 13th again, but the way they used to do it in Japan back in the day, it's kind of a throwback to one of their classic haunted houses. And it's going to be so much of a throwback, they're putting it in the same venue. The same venue. Yeah, Hello Kitty. Hell Kitty, actually. Hell Kitty will be in the other tent, the two sprung tents. So, where is this Friday the 13th house, which I said is something they used to do in Japan when they resumed horror. They did horror nights like around 2000 or 2001 or 2002, I think. One of the first, it opened in 2001, so it was either that first year or the next year. They had the horror nights like they had, and had a couple haunted houses. Then they stopped doing it for nearly a decade, and they started again, I think, in 2010 or something, and that was only zombies in the streets. And then the year after that, they resumed doing haunted houses. So they've always called them houses in Japan, like they do in Orlando. In Singapore, or do they call them mazes? No, I'm wrong. It's Singapore that calls them houses like we do in Orlando. In Japan, they're mazes like they are in Hollywood. Whew, trying to figure that out. If they ever do horror nights in Beijing, I have no idea what they'll call them. Oh my God. They may not do them in Beijing. I don't know. It would be iffy, probably. But, meow, meow, meow. That's the cat. So, yeah, Friday the 13th was one of the old school haunted mazes in Japan back in the day. You know, back in around the early 2010s. They did it for like three or 4 years running, I think, through 2013 or something like that. They had done it year after year, all in the same location in Japan. Hello, cat. Hello, cat. And the same location is Lombard's Landing Restaurant. And that's they know how to put a maze in Lombard's Landing, and they're going to do it here as well. And so during sometime in the summer, Lombard's will close and won't be open anymore until after Horror Nights is over. And they'll transform that restaurant into the haunted house for Friday the 13th, like they did in Japan about 10 years ago. It's going to be like an anniversary event. So those are the 10 haunted houses they're doing. And I know some of you are saying, Dr. Jimmy, they're putting up a new tent. And they're not putting one up behind Men in Black. And I think maybe because they might be taking that stage down for something else sometime soon, so it's not going to be there behind that Fear Factor stage and that little tent they usually have up there behind Men in Black, because they didn't put that up this year. They put the tent up in the Fast and Furious queue. When you go in, if you turn right, and you can, in the first queue area, there's like, you can see through the gate little thing there, in the extended queue area that they don't hardly ever use, because when do they have a real queue? But in all that space, there's a tent going up in there. It's just like tradition. They're bringing back one of the old locations when they used to have houses in the earthquake queue and then the disaster queue. So now that's coming home. Isn't that what's going to happen there? And I say, oh, you silly people, to think that they're going to put a haunted house in that location. That's something else, which I'll get to a little later. But before I continue with that idea, they do have... This cat is sitting right here being adorable. I must pet her. There is some scare zone discussion here. There aren't going to be as many set scare zones as usual, because they are using the Japanese model of the street zombies. And these are not just regular zombies. Don't worry, they're all sorts of fascinating. There's clowns, there's pirates, there's monsters. They had Universal Classic monsters in the street with the cyberpunk. But these were all classed as street zombies, and they always use that idea. So you'll have thematic zombies that'll fit the locations they're in. And I believe they're going to have some over in Kids Zone that'll be zombie versions of the characters and some of the attractions there. Like, and they'll have scary versions of, and of course in Hollywood, it's going to be all zombied out. And I believe, because it's Hollywood, they might have zombie movie stars, characters, and that kind of thing. And of course they will break out into flash dances, mainly doing Thriller, the Thriller dance several times a night. Just like Japan, though, they're going to expect you to stay on the sidewalks all the time while they're in the streets, 6 feet apart. That's going to be interesting to see if they can manage that. Here, oh dear, that might have to get changed. But they don't want you to be there in the street while they're doing their whole, dance maneuvers. And they're not going to be on the stages. They'll be out there in the street doing the dancing. I also will set up stages here and there, though, where they'll have some performers doing like rock music, pop, almost like a boy band type thing, hot vampire boys or something, with a DJ-like character like they did in Japan before. That's the sort of thing that we'll be seeing in the streets, but there will be a couple of other scare zones as well, because they know they have to accommodate our view of scare zones. So, in New York Street, there's going to be an Attack on Titan scare zone, all on stilts. It'll be quite spectacular. Hopefully no one will fall over, especially the Colossus, who will have longer stilts than normal. Yes. And then, in Central Park, they'll be doing a rather horrific scare zone based on the anthology anime Junji Ito's collection. If you haven't seen that, be warned. It is quite disturbing in every way. It's one of the most frightening and demented thing. So that's going to be like the real horror center will be in Central Park with, I don't even want to discuss some of the twisted things that might be in there, and snails and horrible things. But yeah, watch it. Quite horrific, in the teeth and the blood and the ripping and the things, body horror, a lot of body horror. Yeah, so all of that. Now, I've mentioned that temporary tent that sprung tent that mysteriously appeared in Fast and Furious Q area. Right now, there are like you can't actually go and see it because there's like a gate that closes that area off. But when you first go into the queue, you look through those chain link fence on the one side. Oh, look at that! Then you come around before, and you can look out again and see, how it's coming together. You actually have to go on Fast and Furious to see the progress, though. Or at least enter the queue area, and it's kind of rude to turn around and try to leave at that point. Oh my. It's too intense of a ride. I couldn't handle it. I'll go on Rip Ride Rocket instead. Yes, that's going to be a pop-up restaurant. Maku-Ronald's, not McDonald's. M-G, Ronald's, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. And these are featured in the comedy horror anime series Devil is a Part-Timer. And it's going to be themed to the Devil is a Part-Timer, and you're going to have that sort of fast service restaurant. And of course, throughout the park, food booths will have the most kawaii little versions of food. They kind of toyed with that, with the little Jason pie they had the other year, but this will be even worse. There's going to be the most adorable little food with little characters and things, and it should be quite delightful. You almost don't want to eat it, it's so cute. Or maybe that's why you want to eat it. You're so cute, I could devour you. Alright, now I haven't mentioned yet, this is what's happening during Halloween Horror Nights, but because the Japanese creatives are taking over this year for the event, they're also taking over during the day for the what do they call it? Surprise Halloween event, which will be happening during the day. And so we're going to get a Halloween parade, but not during the event. It'll be in the daylight hours. They're going to dress up. Basically, it's the same parade they do every day in the daylight. What is it, 3 o'clock or something? 4 o'clock. With the characters, with all all the same floats, the same characters, minions and pets and SpongeBob, and I think what is it? It's Dora the Explorer, whatever they have now. Except they will Halloween it all. So those characters will be wearing masks and having trick-or-treat bags, and there'll be pumpkins and Halloween decorations on their floats. And they're going to encourage children to trick-or-treat from the characters. All of that delightful. Guess what? Pikachu will likely make a surprise appearance wearing a little mask, Halloween Pikachu, because that's happening in Japan this year. He's going to join the parades. He's going to join the regular parades soon, very soon. You'll see this. You'll see I'm right. When they start having Pokemon characters in the parade at USJ, like within a couple months, you'll see that Jimmy is correct. They're going to add those characters to what's going on in Japan, and eventually there will be Pokemon-themed attractions in Japan and Orlando and around the world at Universal, eventually, probably at Epic Universe. That's for the expansion, not with the first thing they built, but when they continue it, stuff's going to happen. It might actually go into our own kids zone eventually. I say our own. I mean the studio. It's not mine. I have nothing to do with it. But I'm thinking of the Epic as somewhere else. Now Epic is here with us. We've got islands, and we have all of this. And there's been a rumor for years that Zelda may go into the islands, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. And maybe it's been planned, maybe not. But someday, I think we will be seeing Pokemon come to Universal somewhere in Florida. It's definitely going to happen in Japan, and they're going to start this year with characters in the daily parades. And so you will see a Pikachu cameo in the Halloween parade, definitely, and maybe they'll start putting the Pokemon characters into our daily street parades at some point. Probably soon, I don't know when. But, so if you watch, pay attention to USJ parades, and you'll see, oh my god, he was right. And then you realize this is not an April Fool's joke. This time I'm telling the truth. Always. So, yes, they're going to do the Daylight Festival, Fiesta Day Parade, or whatever they call it. Surprise Halloween fun parades during the day for the children and encourage the character trick-or-treating, and that's going to be going on as well. And that's the actual thing that's going to happen this year. In any map you've already seen, any of those speculation maps, they've already got out now. In fact, they had them out, a couple weeks ago. Heavens to Betsy's. It's earlier every darn year. Next thing you know, it's going to be January, and already be people leaking the entire event that's going to happen. It's ridiculous. So now you know the true truth and the actual all secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 2022, Halloween Horror Nights 31, question mark, revealed. And you'll see that I'm right, because I've always been right. I've correctly predicted every single event for over a decade now. Alrighty then. Now, I don't really have a good extra, so I'll just say, looking at myself and how I look nowadays, oh my. Oh, that whatever you do, be good, because I see you. Yes, be good for goodness sakes.